Hello there, and thank you for joining me today on another episode of your favorite show, Broadcast Unfiltered. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for the likes, thank you for the comments, and thank you to many of you who have subscribed to the channel. And if this is your first time coming across this channel, I'm so glad that you're here and would love for you to remain with us by subscribing. Click on the subscribe button below so that you can also be part of the regular conversations that we have here on the state of democracy and governance in Africa. Today, we want to discuss the state of opposition politics in Nigeria. In recent months, the African Democratic Congress, ADC, has entered very strongly into the political consciousness of Nigerians, as the party has emerged as the new opposition party platform through which major political actors from the want to contest the 2027 elections, actors including the former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Malam Nasir El-Rufai, the former governor of Kaduna State. We also have former Governor Rotimi Amechi, who was also Minister for Transportation under the government of late President Ahmed Buhari. And we also have operating Peter Obi, who remains a member of the Labour Party, and he was the presidential candidate of the Labour Party in the 2023 election. All of these people have come together under the platform of the ADC in the ambition, to challenge and current President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in 2027. But as much as the party has, continue to show signs that, all right, they are here and they want to really make a major statement as far as opposition politics is concerned, the question still remains, how far will this party, or how long will these actors remain united? Because within their ranks, you find people who have political ambition of becoming the president of the country. Atiku has not hidden his interest to become the president of Nigeria. He's run series of elections, and it appears everything points to him throwing his hat into the ring again for 2027. Some pundits have said the ADC is more or less a platform for Vice President Atiku to realize his political ambition of becoming president. But you also have the likes of Peter Obi, who enjoyed such a large sway of swath of support in the last election. And what is he going to do with that legacy of support that he has inherited? Will he leave that and go for the vice presidential role, or with an Atiku leading the ticket? You also have Rotimi Amechi, who contested the APC primaries in 2023 and lost to Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In some presidential ambition is Nasir El-Rufai, who today, who was very instrumental in championing the cause of Tinubu's campaign in 2023. Can we really call what we have a coalition? Because the ADC still remains a political party by itself, and all of these political actors come from different parties. But unlike what we've seen in the past, most recent past is what led to the formation of the ruling All Progressives Congress. We saw political parties, legacy political parties, who came together and merged together to form the All Progressives Congress. But what we have right now, the questions remain: is it a coalition of groups or a coalition of individuals? Because none of these persons who have moved into the ADC moved with their party structure. But of course, they are all people who in their individual rights, carry political weight. So what manner of coalition is the ADC? And I would like to hear from you. Do you think ADC is really a coalition, a political coalition, or it is a coalition of political actors? Just some people who have decided to move from one party into another political party in their own individual capacity. And is that enough to call it a coalition? Because it's almost like ADC is on a membership drive. And that as part of the changes is that the old leadership of the African Democratic Congress has basically been swept aside, and you have a new leadership, of people who just joined the party, basically. So the current chair of the party is now former Senate President David Mark, who has been a PDP member for as many years since they returned to democracy in 1999. And the secretary of the party is Rauf Aregbesola, who was also a member of the All Progressives Congress until just this time. So you have a situation where just fresh faces, new people who have hardly, at least publicly, spent up to a month in the political party are now running the affairs of the party. And I think the same thing is repeating itself down at the state level. So today we have someone who has a front row view of everything related to the African Democratic Congress, as well as this new coalition arrangement, to help us throw some light on what is going on with the party. I'm joined today by Ahmed Buhari. Ahmed is a Nigerian politician. He's also an entrepreneur and a youth advocate. He served as a vice presidential candidate for the African Democratic Congress in the 2023 election. He's known for his progressive stance on youth empowerment, as well as youth political inclusion and reform. That's he founded an association known as Association for Youth in Governance, through which he advanced some of his issues advocating for youth active participation in national politics. Thank you, Ahmed, for joining us on today's episode of Podcast Unfiltered. For the benefit of many who are listening, who are meeting you for the first time, do you mind just telling us a little about yourself?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me. And for everybody watching across the world, I'm glad to be here to have this chat with Mr. Bodurin Adebo. My name is Ahmed Buhari. I like to call myself a full Nigerian. I try to, as much as possible, be cosmopolitan so that we do not have any ethnic or religious coloration to the man. Uh, I think the reason why Bodrin is having this conversation with me is because a couple of years ago, when I was in my 30s, I turned out to be the youngest presidential candidate to ever emerge in Nigeria. And at that time, I did put together a political party called the Sustainable National Party, upon which we were able to mobilize a lot of young people to agree to support a young person towards the 2019 presidential election at a time when a lot of people thought that I would be gunned down, shot at, or intimidated. All of those things happened except that I wasn't shot and I'm still alive. But be that as it may, that launched me into the political space and the conversations around politics. And we lost the election, obviously. If we had won, I would have been president, but we lost the election. But that gave room for a lot of young people to start believing in the possibility of young people presenting themselves for political office and not necessarily waiting for, the old guard to decide whether or not you were eligible or capable of running such an office. In 2022, I also teamed up with former presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress, Mr. Dumebi Kachiku. At that time, I was picked. He came up to me to ask me to please join him on the ticket of the African Democratic Congress. And after a few weeks of persuasion, I obliged, and we ran a campaign in 2022 up to 2023 for the presidential and vice presidential positions of the African Democratic Congress in the 2023 election. Apart from politics, I am a geologist by training. I've got master's degrees in international trade and marketing and geographic information systems and spatial analysis. I worked as a well site geologist for a lot of years in the Niger Delta region, trying to help Nigeria to, as much as possible, make out a lot of hydrocarbon from underneath the earth that actually did serve the country for many years. I also decided to start up my own space, a tech company in 2014. The tech company has grown; it's over 10 years now, with a staff strength of a lot of young people. The whole idea is to see how we can, in our own little way, help help build the belief in a lot of young people that indeed Nigeria can work. And in my belief, in my head, in my thoughts, technology is one way that we can achieve that.
Well, thank you so much. I think that is quite an impressive background that you just shared with us. I didn't even know that you indeed founded a political party, before you moved on to the ADC. But one of the things that has really struck me about you, since I saw glimpses of some of the conversations you had towards the 2023 election, as you said, in your capacity as vice presidential running mate to Dumebi Kachiku. Both of you are very well spoken, very, very smart, intelligent politicians. So I'm curious to know, why did you, as a young person, choose to join the ADC rather than, joining one of those established political parties in the country? What was the catch, for you? Why did you, in fact, in your own case now, you founded a party, but you subsumed that party to now go into the ADC? What was the catch in ADC for you?
So Nigeria is a very interesting place, especially politically. So when the conversations around politics come up, a lot of things are being experienced. You can be in your private sector, you can do all you want to do, as long as you're ready to give Ogunje, they will let you pass by. But when it comes to politics, nobody wants to care if you're smart or not. Nobody wants to know how intelligent you are. The most important thing for a lot of people around the political space is how much money you're willing to spray in the air for the for all the strata of the people in the politics, especially the guys who have or who have stuck onto politics as their day job. For me and for many young people like myself, the belief is that politics should be a part-time. Politics should be what you call a side a side job. It's supposed to be given to communities, like community service. However, the process that you would have to follow through to get involved or to get elected has to go has to involve you, being on the ground and trying to, as much as possible, to entice the masses, the general public, to understand your views, your values, your policies, and your direction towards the vision that you want to present to them. But unfortunately, in our Nigerian space, most of those values have been eroded. And for many people, it is about how much money you're ready to give me so that I can support you on the day of election. Brother, let's not kid ourselves. We do not have the kind of money that those guys are willing to spend to emerge. And for many of them,
Well, so some may say you, as a geologist, maybe you are as, equally as rich as some of those people.
yeah, as a geologist, I have the kind of money that can take care of myself, my children, and my family, extended family, to a degree where we can say we're comfortable. But when I would have to now start spraying money across the country, then I'm not going to lie, that is far-fetched. And so for people like me, for people like me, the honest truth is we will try as much as possible to let the Nigerian people know that except they are willing to try something different, which is by giving to the process that they hope to serve them rather than expect the process to give them something. And so in other
Hmm.
words, if a politician comes up to you and say, I want to do something, and you say, oh, give me small money for now and we'll vote for you later, if that politician gets
Hmm.
into office, only he can decide how much of that money he wants to give back to society. In most cases, they use that
That's
process to recoup all of the money that they had spent. So
hmm.
Nigerians are not willing to agree to some of these realities, or should I say that indeed poverty has been weaponized to the degree that cannot allow people to, continue with that fasting period that indeed we go through till the time of elections. So
Hmm.
people get to that point and say, oh, let me get what I can get now because I do not believe that when these guys get into office, they will do what they need to do. But I want the general public to think for a second that indeed, if the people, if the people collect money from the politicians, when the politicians get into office, the first thing they're going to be doing is to see how they can recoup all of those monies that they had spent during the campaigns, sharing the monies for the people. So it's a dog eat dog system. It's a dog eat dog society, and the most sad reality is that we do not have apparatus in place that checkmates how much people are supposed to spend during elections and the sources of the resources that they spend during elections. With regards to the Sustainable National Party that we built through 2016, 17, 18 against the 2019 elections. Um, because we did not win, the Independent National Electoral Commission decided that parties who did not win election will be delisted. And so we were delisted. And at that point, I wasn't with a political party. I don't expect a political party that is new to suddenly start winning political offices. It's a process that is supposed to allow that political party to build itself, build its followership, and hopefully over time get the acceptability of the general public and get elected into office. But again, that's a story for another day. So I remember in 2022, maybe sometime in April, I got a call from a young man called Atiku, and he said he had just emerged as the presidential candidate of the African Democratic Congress. And honestly, between me and you, I honestly did not know who he was. And I quickly went online and I saw that he had won the election and he had even beaten people like Professor Kingsley Mogalu. And I'm like, wow, okay, how did this happen? This might be interesting. So after a couple of weeks of discussions, I agreed that I was going to run with him on that ticket. He presented me to the party and we started building our structure and started building our campaign and did as much as we could to transverse the country to share our policy documents and manifesto and let the people know exactly what we wanted to do. And that is how I ended up with the African Democratic Congress.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. So now let's get into the meat of this conversation. And based on actually where you just anchored, you have been a member of the ADC, I would say, I think arguably since 2022, 2023, that you've been a member. So in terms of the discussions that has now led to the selection of the ADC, I'm curious to know, how did that process, play out, particularly for a political party, that's the ADC in this instance, that recorded just I think some 80 something, 81,000 or so, less than 100,000 votes nationally in 2023, and to now become the party that is seen as the vehicle that would drive, the ambition of these political actors to unseat the current government. How did the whole of that process, how did it play out?
Okay, a good question. I can see a lot of I can see a lot of light in your eyes trying to find out exactly how ADC was the party of choice for some political big wigs who, by all means, wouldn't support a party like the ADC. But it might interest you to know that the ADC actually is 23 years old. Um, that's old. So that's older than many other political parties that have done so well over the years. But like politics and gamble and publicity and marketing, to a large extent, it's mostly dependent upon what you're selling, and sometimes it's also about who you are selling. I believe that the reason why ADC is being talked about largely now is mostly because over the years they have managed to keep themselves alive. And in 2022, 23, um, Dumebika Chiku, Ahmed Buhari's participation in the party sort of gave a lot of people um, a reason to want to review what the ADC was really all about. So I remember that from 2023, 24 beginning, I kept getting invites from some old politicians who were actually having conversations with other political parties as to which political party they would want to use as a vehicle come 2027, especially for the fact that the PDP, that was a major opposition to the APC, had been terribly ridiculed by some of its members who were neither in the party or out of the party, but influencing the party in negative ways that couldn't make the party triumph as expected or to remain as relevant as expected, knowing fully well that the major opposition party would need a lot of oxygen to breathe through 4 years before an election year comes. Um, so yes, ADC, I think when the checks and balances were done, they were the party of choice at that time. It's the same way nobody really heard about the Labour Party before 2023,
The three.
and when a big star like Peter Obi went in there, everybody started talking about the Labour Party. So it's about marketing, it's about personalities, and now
Mm.
that we have people like Atiku Abubakar, David Mark, uh, lots of Nasir El-Rufai and lots of them coming to the ADC to say, "Oh, this is the party that we want to run with." Hey, I keep
Mm.
saying to everybody, it's fine. They're all welcome. We're here. We're happy that they decided to come to our home.
So
We
Ahmed
hope that
is is Peter will be a member of the ADC?
no, Peter Obi hasn't registered with the African Democratic Congress. So I would like to think that he's maybe a friend to the ADC, but not a member yet.
That's an interesting way for you to put it. But maybe you've heard this also. A lot of Nigerians say political coalitions in Nigeria, is often a marriage of, convenience.
Co-
Is there particular ideology? Because you've called these different names. Aregbeshola, those who know his politics may say, oh, he's more of a socialist tendency. El-Rufai is more of, one of those champions of neoliberal policies. Amici, I'm not so sure where to put his ideology. And then you also have Atiku Abubakar, who is kind of middle of everything. And then your party, is there one ideology that holds this party together, and the new actors who are now in the APC?
Nothing holds them together except for the fact that they want to win an election. And that's across all the political parties in the country. no matter how well you dig. And you see, and look, for many years I was fighting the leadership of our country, but I've joined the group of people who believe that it's a followership problem. And why is it a followership problem? We need people who would truly ask those questions. We need people who would truly demand that the right thing is done before they support political parties. I have gotten calls from all over the world saying, "Oh, yes, it's time. I want to register with the African Democratic Congress. It is time." And I keep thinking, okay, so the time that I contested, young, energetic, seemingly knows what is going on and what I think my generation need, you guys weren't interested. But now you're interested when the same people you've always complained about have gathered themselves in one room and saying they can give you the democracy that you've always desired, and now you believe them. So again, this is our reality. Unfortunately, our people are not willing to even ask anything. We're just a follow kind of people. And so now that we are seeing the big names, we believe that yes, this is the place to be. Um, it's almost seemingly looking like it's going to be. I don't want to say this, but we will be praying
All right.
that with the kind of following that these politicians in Nigeria have, boy, they have following that are as big as the kind of following that the United the actors in Hollywood have. And no offense on
mm,
anybody, they could, but when you put them ground side by side, RMD, they will beat RMD any day because the people still prefer them.
yeah. You raise a very important issue, and that is it's about followership as much as it is that of leadership. Because if you are now receiving calls and from left, right, and center that now it's time we want to join the ADC, for a party that have been in existence for 23 years, and you also made reference to the fact that you and Dumebi, ran this race in 2023. Yet some of these folks didn't see both of you. So it's more about people get the kind of leader they deserve. I think that is the point you're making. But
Yes.
if you don't mind me asking, I've seen different tendencies in the ADC over the last couple of months and weeks. Clearly, there are those old legacy members, if you like, of ADC who are vehemently opposed to this new entry by the likes of David Mark, Aregbe, Atiku, and co. And there are those who are clearly comfortable with it. So, which of these factions do you belong to? Because I've seen Dumebi and a few others, Abejide and so on, addressing the media that they're actually going to head to the courts. So are you part of the new ADC, or you are one of those holdouts that are saying, no, you people cannot come and take over our house?
So there's no new ADC, it's still ADC. Clearly, we just have new friends, I guess. We just have new people. We have new names. We have more people. Um, Everybody wants to register with the African Democratic Congress across northern Nigeria. A lot of people are trooping in their millions to be part of the African Democratic Congress. Today, I remember somebody from my campaigns in 2019 who called me and said, "Oh, they still have the structure and they want to move into the ADC. They just need my nod." Um, so obviously, politics is about interest, and people like maybe Kachiku or Abejide, they will always have their concerns, honestly, and it's valid. Everybody can have different opinions, and people are free to associate with whatever they do want to associate with. I think maybe Kachiku's biggest concern or problem that he had with the African Democratic Congress at the time that we were running was the fact that the chairman of the party had overstayed his constitutional period, and maybe was fighting really hard to see that whether through the courts or through the constitution of the party, he gets that particular exco removed so that a so that we would have a proper uh, re-election of party leaders that would emerge. And when this re-election of party leaders and when the new leaders emerge, we would have a proper democratic space, at least for the African Democratic Congress. So most of our campaigns was hinged on fighting within the political party to remove all of those people and allow the constitution of the party to run supreme. Unfortunately, Dumebi was not able to achieve that. And so we went into elections with the same ESCOs, people like Ralph Wonsu and co. So I think Dumebi obviously still feels bad about the fact that um, I'm not able to have removed this Ralph Wonsu and his gang, and now they even have new people. So my biggest question in all of this, when I was trying to think whether or not I should take a side in all of this conversation, I said to myself, if the biggest thing that we maybe wanted when he was running was to get this ESCO removed, well, right now they've been removed. A new set of people are there. A constitutional process has taken place. Negotiations as
No,
usual
but
in political conversation.
if I may come in there, you said they've been removed, but how transparent was that process of removing them? That what does the law of the ADC say? The party constitution, what does it say in terms of choosing leaders for the party? I know the current leadership has now been confirmed; they are no longer interim leaders of the party. So, but what everyone is curious about is why did Raf also? Why did he hold on for so long? And now or suddenly overnight you have this new entrant. He was willing to let go for this new entrant, but he was not willing to do as the party constitution said before. So what's the motivation here?
Honestly, I might know the motivation, but I wouldn't want to speak about it because I do not have any proof to show that that probably would have been the motivation. However, something must have induced something to have made whatever is happening happen, you know. But like we started the conversation, a lot of things in Nigeria are not as they should be, unfortunately. And so people from different political parties who are probably jittery or upset might say the things that they want to say, especially in line with how you have actually presented it with, which is, did all of these negotiations in the removal or the resignation of whoever was done constitutionally? And my response to you will be, I honestly do not know. But hey, this is what I
Mm,
do know. What I do know is across political parties, we have seen irregularities happen,
mm,
and nobody gives a damn. And all I am saying is the Nigerian people should be able to say, you know what? Why do we have to come here if we do not get the clarity that we're supposed to get? But nobody is saying anything. But let me also shock you. In parties like the All People's Congress, APC, for example,
APC. Mm,
they have not had any constitutional process that has presented them a chairman in a long time.
mm,
As a matter of fact, we even started hearing of a new word in our political space, which was consensus. So whatever a couple of people sit down and decide in the room, they'll come out and tell the remaining party members, and say, "Oh, so we sat down with Mr. President, and he said Ganduje should be our chairman." What was the process that was run through to present to that the Android emerged upon? Nothing. What was the process that was put through to make sure to see that the present governor of Yobe, who was the former interim chairman for so many years in the APC, while he was a chairman of the APC, chairman of the interim chairman of the APC, at the same time he was the governor of Yobe State. It didn't matter. Members of the party will tell you, leave our party alone. That is how we want to run it. And the conversation has always been, is it in line with the Constitution? So, again, we can keep pointing fingers back and forth as to whether or not the right things were done. But my biggest view about all of this is, for Ralph Wonsu and his cohorts, they made it clear to someone like me that indeed the ADC is their party and they were not moving anywhere. And so, if today I am seeing them um, stepping aside and allowing a new leadership to take control of the party, my thinking would be that obviously they had gone into some sort of negotiations that make them feel happy enough to step aside. Um,
Interesting.
it's our
So,
Nigerian situation. And I keep saying, sorry, I'm just going to
yeah.
add this point, and I keep saying something. After, I'm in my 40s now, and after experiencing the things I've experienced in Nigeria democratically, I do think that we should sit down with some professors who are honest to rebuild the kind of democracy that will suit us as a country. And that this copy
Mm.
and paste kind of democracy that we pick up from around the world, well, it's not doing us any good because we're not ready to play by the book.
I totally agree with you. Though I may not want to just put it more as an academic exercise. I believe what we need is, something that is perhaps very organic, people led, and not some ideas. We've tried all these professorial things in Nigeria. We used to have SDP, NRC, a little to the right, a little to the left. We've had
Yeah,
all manner. One thing that we have derailed from, if you compare the nature of our political parties now to the kind of political parties we had in Nigeria's first republic, I think there's something for us to go back to and see how did those parties evolve, and why is it that when those parties evolved, they enjoyed the legitimacy, that followership. Talk of the likes of the Akron, Action Group, and then the Northern Party, the
UPN.
NEPC. I think that's the acronym.
Mm,
Yeah. Well,
yeah,
NPN is even in the Second Republic. I'm talking of the First Republic. Those
yeah,
parties
yeah,
that led Nigeria into independence, NEPU and so on. Yeah. And so on. Why did they enjoy the very organic support they enjoyed then? Yes, that
yeah,
was probably the most ideological type of parties that we had in the country. We had a shade of that also in the Second Republic. UPN, PRP was very pro-masses, the Talakawas in Kano,
yeah,
and so on. So, but what we have right now. So, from what you're saying, it appears ADC is also perpetuating the same, anti-democratic or issues we see in other political parties. So the question now for you is, based on this context that you just painted, do you see any potential risk that, that could derail ADC's electoral ambition even before 2027 comes around?
ideally it should hold. But obviously you're fighting, or you're going to be contesting against an incumbent party, an incumbent president, and they're going to throw everything at everything to make sure that everything does not work. Um, so obviously I'm hearing they may be going back to court. I'm hearing AGD, the House of Rep member in the African Democratic Congress, also threatening that it's going to be going to court. And all it takes is for, um, God forbid, a weak judiciary to listen to the ruling party and do exactly as they're being asked to do. And if that happens, anything can be happening to the African Democratic Congress's build up that is looking seemingly interesting at
But
a time
would
like
you
this.
would you because you characterize the judicial process just now, that God forbid that we see a weak judiciary, um, because you kind of brought in, you made a comment about the ruling party influencing the judiciary. Uh, do you think the judiciary will side one way or the other?
I hope they do not. But again, like I started the conversation with the build-up of how the Mibikachiku fought very hard for a couple of months and still fighting to see that the right thing is being done as it concerns the ADC's constitution and its leadership. We were in court. INEC was involved. A lot of processes were introduced, like the ADR, the alternative and dispute resolution approach, just to see that everybody would be on the same page and have a peaceful party. If at that time, with all the evidences that were presented, the court, the judicial system couldn't serve justice, in my opinion. I wonder if they will be willing to serve justice if it comes in a different light. So again, that's the only thing I think can happen, because before the coalition happened, all the pending cases in court were addressed and squashed by the courts. And so, except if now that it's looking like indeed ADC is a party to be worried about, that we'll start having new conversations about whether or not the court is looking to favor people, individuals like Dumebika Chiku or Aejide of Kogi State at a time like this.
Mm. All right. So do you foresee ADC forming a broader alliance with other smaller political parties or even merging other parties to come
Yeah, the
into
way
the ADC or even merging?
it could happen, it could happen. So if they're able to sustain the momentum, smaller parties might start thinking that this party might just win elections. So let us be with whoever wins. And that's the reality. Another sad reality about Nigeria. Nobody is willing to be in the losing party, because it's a winner takes it all kind of situation. I remember during the early days of PDP and AC and maybe I can't remember, ANPP, you will see how the winning party will still entertain uh, many members from the other opposition party, even with appointments, with contracts, just so that it's not one-sided. But now, if you are not with us, if you're not ready to decamp and join us, then you're going to be totally forgotten. So people are afraid to go on a fast. People are afraid not to be part of the dispensation. And that is why you find even governors who feel the center has a lot of power, and with those powers, they could actually change their destiny. You find those kind of governors actually decamping to join the APC because they want to ensure that their victory for the next election is 100% secured. Again, it has nothing to do with the decision of the people, but the decision of a few men who put themselves in a room and decide what happens to the rest of us.
All right, thank you. So let's move on to discussing youth and youth in politics as it relates to this coalition effort. I think of Nigeria's over 94 to 95 million registered voters. We have over 37 million or so of that number are young people. So my question really is that, a lot of people say young Nigerians are more uh, active on social media, and there's no polling unit on the social media. But young people are very active in Nigeria, but at the same time they are absent at the polls. So my question for you is, how does ADC plan to convert this online energy into votes for the party? How is your
Thank you. Interestingly, I I'm happy that Labour Party sort of demystified all of these conversations that the old political oligarch would always present to the Nigerian people, that nothing can be changed from social media. We saw how a lot of supporters for Peter Obi, the Obedience, and the Labour Party, everybody looked down on them. They kept saying they don't have structure. They kept saying they cannot do anything. Oh, forget about them. On the day of election, they will shoot two bullets to the air and they will all disperse. But that wasn't the case. They came out, they voted, they defended themselves, and they defended their votes to a large extent. So I am just saying that what the ADC needs to really do is to present viable candidates that will be appealing to the Nigerian people. Because once they're appealing, then you are likely going to get that overwhelming support that nothing would deter from the young people that talk on social media, or that are seemingly looking to be ranting. By the time you present them with believable candidates, and you try to awaken their hope and their belief to a large extent, then you're probably going to be winning the next election. Because for many of them, they feel very hopeless, they feel very disconnected. And so if the ADC is going to present us with with an array of people that have we have always seen and rejected, then they might just still be rejected even though they're having a new flag.
Well, I appreciate your optimism about uh, how young people are being brought into, I mean, the obedient block of votes, if you like, young people supporting Peter Obi. Do you think that block vote, remains as he enjoyed it in 2023? Or I think that's my question, really. Do you think Peter Obi still enjoys that level of popularity, support across board amongst young people, and
Hmm.
is wherever he goes, he will still carry them along with him?
Mr. Bodron, let me just say this, yeah. Um, every election cycle comes with its peculiarities. The way it was in 99, totally different with how it turned out in 2003, 7, 11, 15, 19, 23, and 2027 is going to be entirely different. The expectations, the desires, the wants, the need, the belief, the energy would all be different. Different things present themselves at different times. We can only predict, we can only guess, but I remember in 2023, every single person I spoke to, they all said, "Oh, forget about these young people. They are for online alone. They cannot do anything. They are not going to vote on the day of voting. Is it not social media children? Forget about them." But those same people are not speaking in that light today. However, that is not to say that Peter Obi, who enjoyed all of that support in 2023, is likely going to still enjoy that kind of support in 2027, because in reality, the people have grown, their wants have changed, their feel of the system has also changed. There's some people who feel Peter Obi didn't fight hard enough. There are some people who feel Peter Obi is not as trustworthy as they thought he was. Different things decide different situations, and I can just for me, in all of the conversations we've been having in the last hour, I think I am more excited about the fact that we are talking about a viable opposition today, because
Mhm.
just 3 months ago everybody had their legs crossed and they were sitting pretty, believing nothing
Mm.
can change what will happen in 2027. But
Mm.
today,
I,
there are side comments and concerns from the ruling
mm.
party, from other interest groups, because it doesn't seem like anybody should sit pretty. And why I'm excited about this fundamentally is the fact that it keeps the party in office in check, to ensure that
Yeah.
the policies, if they're not working, they need to be rejigged. the projects, if they're not executed, they need to be executed. And it just makes democracy and the politics, and most importantly, governance, tilt towards the side of the dividends that have been promised to the Nigerian people.
Thank you. I think that is very good. So, I mean, I have one more question for you. If you had to send one message, to so-called disengaged Nigerian youth, what would that message be? If you were to send one message to the Nigerian youth that appears to be disengaged from the political process, what?
First of all, I want the Nigerian youth to realize that regardless of the tribe, religion, or political party an individual comes from, it has not changed our situation. So, therefore, we must pay attention, most importantly, to people with credibility, unquestionable character, true energy to serve, and stop all of this ethnic bigotry or religious bigotry, because it is the real reason why we have not progressed. And so when you are looking at the individuals presenting themselves to you, do not forget their yesterday, because a man would hardly change for you. In other words, I expect that we would rally round, whether it's APC or ADC or PDP or Labour, and demand for the emergence of young people with credibility. Forget about whether they've been in governments before, because some people say, what the older people say is they've never been in government, so they do not know how to run government. And we say to them, you've always been in government, and this is our situation. Who do we trust?
Thank you so much for that, Ahmed. I think that is very poignant. Although we see so much contradiction in Nigeria, young people who have so much, energy, and they are the victim of the misrule and the mismanagement of the country. But a lot of them are talented, entrepreneurial, very hardworking, but they lack opportunity. But at the same time, they are also beholden, to these politicians. Whether you look at the APC or you look at the ADC, they are all made up of people that you can write volumes about for, how they have contributed to keeping Nigeria to where it is today. So it's always an interest, for me, and since I mentioned this at the start of the conversation, that young people like you who have been in politics, so that who have shown interest in politics, should also find a way of amplifying the voices of young people, not just for tokenism, but aggregate that energy, aggregate that power, so that the young ones can be taken seriously, and not just be used by any politician, whether in the ruling party or even this coalition. Why should you, a 40-year-old person, be the one that is carrying the flag of an 80-year-old man, and you are both in the same party? So whether you go to the APC, also you find very young, smart people, and so it's like they are being used as puppets in a game. And so I want to thank you so much for the time that you have given session, and that you should continue to give that representation, that voice, to the interest of the young ones in our country, because the future is not, we are not saying the tomorrow belongs to the youth. They own today. And some of the people who are positioning themselves, whether to be re-elected or to come back into office, they shouldn't even be presenting themselves. They should make way for the young ones. But we have what we have now. So thank you so much for your contributions to the development of the country. And I hope to have you more on the show, even as events towards 2027 comes around. Thank you, Ahmed.
Remember, I'm just a call away. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. Thank you.